welcome to Texarkana Talk. I'm your host, Sarah Edwards. Now today I have with me Texarkana, Texas Mayor Bob Bruggeman. And thank you for being here today, Mayor.
Sarah, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
So today we're going to discuss a few topics. Now the first I know is near and dear to your heart, city beautification.
Mm-hmm.
So to start out, could you better help our viewers understand what beautification means?
Well, beautification means taking pride in one's property. It's a beautiful appearance, and it can be a variety of things. It could be everything from landscaping, flower beds, to hanging baskets, to a well-manicured lawn. It can also be a very nice-looking structure or building. So it can be artwork, monuments, fountains. So it's just something that's very pleasing to the eye as people go by and view something.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that sounds good. Now, could you tell us about some of the efforts that are going on in our community to make or keep Texarkana more beautiful?
Well, we have a very strong organization in our community. It's called Keep Texarkana Beautiful. And what they do is they focus on a residence and a business award each month. And so they drive around the city and they select one winner from each category. And what's neat about it is that the recipients each month are asked to come to a city council meeting, and they are recognized for their beautiful yard or their beautiful business. They are presented a very nice sign that has the Keep Texarkana Beautiful logo on it that they can proudly display on their property. And so that's a great organization in our community that works very closely with keeping our city beautified. Also, we have the long-range project of the State Line Corridor. State Line is our main gateway to the downtown area. It's very historic. It's where the state line literally lies between Texas and Arkansas. And so there's an effort that's been put forth to beautify that corridor. It's going to be a long-term process, but we're already starting the process, working with both the state of Arkansas and the state of Texas to make this a reality sometime in the future. So we're looking forward to that. And then also, we're making a concentrated effort with demolition efforts within the city on behalf of the city and our program with doing that. What this does, it allows us to remove old, dilapidated, condemned, oftentimes burned out structures, primarily residential structures. The good thing is that we're able to do some demolition work. The bad part of that, or the negative part of it, is we have limited funds in order to do it. So there's a lot of need in the community for demolition, but we have to be very strategic in using those funds to make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck.
All right. Well, another topic that I understand the city has been working really hard to get information out about different ways to recycle. Can you tell us about some of those efforts?
We have a very strong recycling program that's being held, or that we're doing in conjunction with waste management. It's involving the residential sector, where the residents have a 65-gallon cart with a yellow lid on it that they can put recyclable items in it, such as newspapers, magazines, cardboard, the various forms of plastic. And it's so they can put that along with their regular trash can on the curb for a weekly pickup, and those items that are placed in the container are recycled. And so they're doing their part to help save our planet as far as conserving our resources. We also have various groups in the community, both at the community college level as well as at the university, our high school groups that also are involved with beautification projects. Beautification and in conjunction with recycling to collect items that can be recycled. Also, the city has occasionally an electronics recycling program. It's usually held on a Saturday at Spring Lake Park. Residents can drop off electronics items as far as old computer screens, televisions, that sort of thing, so they can be disposed of properly, and also many of the components can be recycled. So just a variety of efforts taking place in our community as well on the Texas side as well as on the Arkansas side.
All right. Well, another big problem that I've heard about recently is tire recycling. And I understand that the City Council has worked with some students from Texarkana College. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Right. There's a group of students from Texarkana College that came to a council meeting a couple of months ago, and they made a presentation. the main focus of the presentation was involving awareness as far as the issues that we have with old tires. Old tires can accumulate water within the interior part, which is a problem for breeding mosquitoes. And also, since these tires are made of rubber, it's a component that doesn't break down, so it's there for a long period of time. We encourage our citizens to dispose of tires properly and to not abandon them or throw them in ditches and that sort of thing, but to use the proper way of discarding those particular items. Also, when a customer goes to a business to have new tires placed on their vehicle, they are charged a very nominal recycling fee for the tires that are being removed from their vehicle. So it's a good idea, instead of holding on to those tires once new tires are replaced, to go ahead and leave those tires there at the tire shop so that they can be disposed of properly.
All right, so can you tell us some other things that people might be able to do with their old tires?
Well, there's a possibility. Some can involve them with artwork. I've seen old tires used in parks as far as involving playground equipment, that sort of thing. That's another possibility that they could use them. But the main thing to keep in mind is that when they're no longer used or they're no longer of use, is to make sure that they're not in an open area where mosquitoes once again can breed. And also, they can also be very unsightly, especially if they've been dumped on the side of a road or a ditch or something like that. The key thing is just make sure that they're not outdoors and that they're disposed of properly.
Well, that sounds really interesting. Some great ways to dispose of them. Now, can you tell us about some of the other problems that our city might be facing regarding beautification?
Well, one that we kind of focused on a few minutes ago is involving demolition efforts. And also, we have what are called weed lots in our city. So if a property has been abandoned, for example, no residential structure has been abandoned, then that structure is torn down, then now you have a vacant lot. Right. And the city has to maintain those lots. And so periodically, based on a mowing cycle during the growing season, those properties have to be mowed. And we have about 1,500 properties on the Texas side that had to be maintained. So it does put a strain on our resources, our personnel, as well as our equipment. So that's an ongoing issue. We are looking at ways to help revitalize areas that have become weed lots. For example, we have an ordinance now that when someone comes forward and they're interested perhaps in purchasing a piece of property or a couple of lots that are alongside of each other, instead of, now there's nothing that we can do about the back delinquent taxes, but each time that property is mowed or maintained, there's a lien put on that property for about $120 per mowing cycle, and those add up. So we do have an ordinance where we can forgive the liens that are on the property if someone is interested in purchasing the property as a form of revitalizing our community.
All right, well, that sounds pretty great too. Could you tell us how you would like to see our residents participating in keeping the city beautiful?
Well, I think it's very important that our residents have pride in their property, and that can be easily done by making sure that the property is mowed, that the shrubbery is trimmed, that there's not a lot of debris out on their property. And also another item that we're looking at as far as an ordinance that's being reviewed by the council currently is involving the parking of vehicles in front yards. That has a negative connotation. Right. It also doesn't allow the grass to grow per se, and it can be very, very unsightly, especially if you have multiple cars parked in the yard of a particular residence. So we're working on an ordinance to deal with that. We want to make sure that we're